a reputation built on successful engagements with customers of all sizes operating in multiple industry sectors across Europe. David Jackson, founder and managing director of the cabling company, is here with us to talk about building his business over the last decade to an organisation with over 150 engineers across more than 15 locations in the UK. David, how are you today?
Yeah, morning, David. Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, firstly, listen, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today and share your journey. It would be great if you could maybe just kick us off with, sort of brief outline of what it is that you do, what the cabling company does, and what sort of services you offer.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Great to be here. So, the name's in the giveaway of what we actually do, but we do offer other services, which is a good place to help people understand that. So clearly, we design and install data cabling and wireless solutions for businesses, government bodies, and the setup of the business or myself is the experience. I've been in the IT industry some 34 years. Last 24, 25 of those have been specifically in cabling and infrastructure. And 10 years ago, actually 10 years ago last year, I formed the company from my bedroom. I saw an opportunity to build a business and offer a service to clients that I thought was unprecedented in our particular industry at the time.
So you go out to sort of premises and things, and you put in that spaghetti cabling thing that's kind of like they're all the same colour, they're all over the place.
Not quite,
I mean, how
not
you
quite
manage to
that.
sort of track which wire goes where, I've no idea. But
Yeah, absolutely. We can do many things. We might work with IT consultants who do the design, and then we pick that up and then actually do the survey and the meeting with the client, and then actually deliver it. Or, as you've just said, we can go completely the opposite way around in actually, if somebody's refurbing their office or moving into a bigger office and they don't have a clue about what they need to do, we've got the experience of going in completely from ground zero, designing the whole network, putting it into standards, in covering everything ready for that move when either refurbing or moving straight into the office. It's going to be all ready for them, and that comes from both experience and qualifications. So myself, I hold what's called a CNIDP, which is a Certified Network Infrastructure Design Professional Certificate, which is, at last count, there was 220 of us in Europe. And that, that certification means that basically it's the highest accreditation you can have for cabling design in Europe. So that comes from the top. We've obviously got project managers and operations director that have similar qualifications in terms of being able to back people up in design things in the right way, so they get the most from their business network.
Yeah, it's more than just laying a few cables and plugging it in a dongle and stuff. I mean, over the last 10 years, I'd imagine you've seen some massive changes in the industry. What are the sort of changes that you think you've seen?
Well, obviously speed requirement and it's very good question, David. And a lot of people don't really kind of understand how important cabling is to their business or Wi-Fi. A lot of people look at the flashing lights that are either the latest laptop, the latest switch, that kind of thing. And we see a huge amount of networks that are invested in the wrong way. My analogy is quite an easy one for everyone to remember, is that if you go and buy a house and you see it's leaning to one side, would you buy it?
Yeah.
So you've got to get the foundations of the house right. You've got to get the foundations of the network right. And that's what, if you start from there, then your business and your network is going to outperform what you need. And even more so now with technologies that are coming and have been for a while, but obviously we all know the introduction of AI, and people don't realize that somewhere, somehow, that's going to be generated by a bigger computer, faster computers, laptops. They all need, bigger memory, better software. It's not just a voice in the ether that actually comes out, and dictates what you want in a Word document or a PowerPoint. But I think we've been lucky should I say, as a business in the last 5 years, I would say, two big things have happened in our industry to make us more valued as a company, which is fire regulations and putting the cabling in properly to a fire
Okay.
regulator.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's an interesting one because not a lot of people realise that cables in buildings have or new cables in buildings. So anything from 2017 onwards, when you're putting cabling in, it needs to be to a particular fire rated standard. If it isn't, and there's a fire, and God, God hope there isn't, but if there is, then businesses don't realise that one, they might not be insured.
Yeah.
That's huge. And two, the situation with a lot of people don't realise is that some, not every, but some insurance companies actually give you a discount on your business insurance if you
Okay.
prove that you have a fire rated cabling solution installed, because it's obviously less likely to, cause further damage in the building and etc. What leads to that. So that's really an important thing because A, end users aren't aware of the standard, and B, we're actually finding that a lot of our competitors aren't aware of that standard because they don't invest in training for their staff.
Keep
They
up to date with the local, latest. Okay. Yeah, it's
they
quite a big
almost like
information there, and it's one of those. It's not just like I say about the latest computer that does the fastest thing. If you plug it into a cable that can't keep up with the speed, then what's the point? There's also
absolutely.
future proofing and having that industry knowledge around, like say, the fire risks and stuff like that, isn't there?
Absolutely, and that you picked on a really good point there, David. Future proofing is one where we excel at. So my way of thinking is that there's a lot of competitors out there that might not share my view, but my view would always be future proof somebody's network properly, and when and if they actually move in the future, they'll come back to you because you've done a good job. A
Yeah.
lot of our competitors actually don't do it that way, and they know that they'll just install something and know because of the way IT and technical solutions are going, that company will have to reinvest in cabling again. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
my view is most cabling installations in projects really should, if you do it right, should last between 5 to 10 years before you need to invest again and actually bring it up to standard. Well, unfortunately, some people are actually going around installing what's called a Cat 5e cable, which essentially is out of date by at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're still doing it. So, my business is set up about always future proofing, always looking at long-term relationships with customers. And the good thing about our business is you may have seen, David, and I'd urge people to go and have a look at our website, but our customers include the likes of Mulberry, Ocado, Royal Surrey Hospital in Guildford, to name but a few.
So there's some big names there, without a doubt. There's some big names. So let's just switch on to the business then. So you set the business up 10 years ago. You're in the industry before. What would you say your biggest learnings as a business owner since you began?
Wow, that's a really kind of, how long have we got? I would say learnings, and it's been really prominent, and it was before COVID, but it's become even more provident now, is staff.
Okay.
Finding the right staff, and it's been really an interesting challenge since COVID because a lot of people's views of work have changed, and by that I mean, you know, people had those 2 years to 3 years where they weren't actually doing any work. They couldn't go and do work unless they were working from home, of course. And those people have changed jobs completely. We've seen lots of engineers come out of the industry who were good engineers but couldn't go to work in those 3 years. So they've come out. They're now delivery drivers or working in Tesco's or whatever it may be. So it's been a challenge for us to find the right people, as it always was, but even more so since COVID. It's and I think most business owners are going through that challenge. So I think really it might surprise people, but the number one challenge for us, most certainly, recently has been staff, finances, selling, training, investment in training, marketing, never going to be an issue for us. It's about finding the right people
Right
to,
people. So
yeah, the
what sort
right
of
people.
things have you what sort of things have you done to overcome those challenges to sort of find the right people?
Um, Combination of investment in the person in terms
Okay.
of so they can actually see a proper structure in terms of investment in the person and also a way of being promoted in the business. That's always been a priority for me, invest in people, but also changing our company benefits to our staff. So, and whilst we're successful and we've always every business owner has always got to keep an eye on overheads, right?
Mm.
So for us to go and overpay staff is never what I really are keen on. You should pay the staff what they are actually valued in terms of that role, if that makes sense. We always pay the going rate, but I've seen a lot of companies overpay for people just to keep them. So
Yeah.
for us, it's the small things that we've done, over COVID, which was or since COVID, cost of living bonuses. We've given those out on a regular basis to help people, with winter bills and that kind of stuff. And something that really went down, quite well was actually a couple of years ago we introduced giving everyone's birthday off.
Okay. Yeah.
Small things, but those kind of like
They mean a
personal.
lot though, don't they?
Yeah,
You go
yeah,
back to that sort of basic principle of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs when you've got your shelter, you get your food. It's that sense of purpose, sense of belonging. I'm seeing it more and more now
yeah,
in terms of team development, recruitment. Is actually people want a sense of purpose rather than
absolutely.
the
Yeah,
paycheck is kind of like a bit of a sticking plaster, isn't it? If you overpay,
yeah,
it's the culture's
a-
not right, the environment's not right, the support's not right.
absolutely. And also, I through COVID, I actually trained as a mental health first aider.
Oh, very good.
So we're very keen, as I said, about supporting our staff, even in small ways. But we also offer a employee assistance program, which obviously was quite prominent through COVID. And it's almost like the way to describe it is like a company supplied Samaritans. I know that sounds quite strange, but I don't know, and I've actually phoned the help desk myself, to get support. But it's one of these anonymous. They can phone up at any time, 24/7. Speak to us, a support worker at the other end of the phone. They've got apps on their phone that they can, watch videos, about finances, about
Yeah.
mental health, about and those are small things that over and above the normal company stuff that we all do, which is company pension, company healthcare, everything else like that. What we're trying to do is we're investing in people.
Yeah,
That's
it's a big part
that's
of
the
it.
big,
Yeah, very
yeah,
good. I mean,
yeah,
you've built a successful business over the last decade, and you mentioned just now that actually you've used that phone line.
yeah.
Being a business can be a challenge. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of strain on a business owner. So how do you balance those demands of, being in business with that pressure, that stress, or whatever, and your personal life as well?
Oh, that's a really interesting one to answer because if you ask my wife, she would give you completely the opposite of what I'm going to say now. But no, number one, away from the business, having a hugely supportive family and most definitely wife. Business owners, they get credit from their staff and in customers and people who are knowledgeable how successful you are or you aren't. But what people don't realize is how much effort running a business actually takes.
Yeah.
And it really is a 24/7 situation. About 5, 6 years ago, I'll give you the analogy here of we were involved in a 1,250 site rollout for New Look.
Okay.
Well, and that was across Europe as well. And I had engineers phoning me up at 1:30 in the morning to ask me questions that the operations director couldn't answer. So the phone was ringing, and my wife was like literally had the same amount of sleep as me, but she knew that was one of those things that she had to put up with, I
Yeah,
suppose.
there was an end date to it. There's a period of time that you could, yeah,
Absolutely. So my wife is the number one success story around my business. So I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her allowing me to do what I'm doing. but away from that, obviously on the business, then it's about having always a strong team, but a strong management team, that can support you in share the same vision. Because as I've already highlighted, finding staff is really, really difficult, and finding the right staff that want a long-term future is also quite difficult because of COVID. They don't see further than maybe the end of next year, whereas the management team, buy into the same, vision, buy into the same ethics. They have to, because
That
they
long
wouldn't.
term view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really useful lessons there. And again, a common theme, really, business can be quite a lonely place. So having a good support network around you is really important.
But
Business
yeah.
also, when you're in business, you own a business. It's not kind of, you don't switch off at 5 o'clock and it's go home, clock off. It's with you all the time. So, it's that work-life
Well,
balance, which isn't, it's more like work-life integration.
yeah, you're absolutely right, and over time you do realise there has to be that point of work-life balance, and in somehow, some way, you need to find how that works for each individual company owner. I've got slightly better where I've started to look at, making some time, almost like a semi-retirement. So rather than weekend going off and playing golf and watching football like I do, maybe Friday afternoon I finish at 12, especially in the summer, and go and have a round of golf, and kind of like try and switch off before I get to the weekend, instead of getting to the weekend and it impacting on family life.
Yeah, absolutely. Get that balance right. And you're right, it's not one size fits all. Everybody's got to find their own way.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
mentioned earlier about AI and new technology and stuff, and there's a phrase that I've latched on, that today is the slowest day of change for the rest of your life. So there's a
Yeah,
lot of
very
change
good.
coming. Where do you see yourself and the cabling company over the next 5 years? What you sort of looking to do with the company?
Um, well, that's an interesting question. Because we're involved in the IT industry, 5 years is a huge period in IT. Who would have guessed, 2 years ago that AI would have been around?
Yeah.
Chat GPT has always been around, but not to the level where our AI is now. I mean, the Microsoft Copilot, if you know anything about that, I sit there and watch the videos on it and just keep shaking my head and thinking, how, what are my children and grandchildren going to be doing in 30 years? But where is the company be in 5 years? So it's going to be offering the same level of service to our customers, keeping the same level of investment in our staff. For me personally, I would like to get to that point of being more a COO, maybe, that is involved in a business, but not necessarily every day. My drive in 5 years will be I'll be 61. I know I only look 21, David, but yes, I'm going to be in 61 in 5 years. At that point, I've learned something from my mum and dad, which I don't want to be working till I'm 70, 75. It scares me. So and I sat down last year, I think, with my wife, and we started looking about retirement planning, etc., etc. And for me, I identified, well, actually, my wife identified it. She's pretty scared when and if we retire, because I'll be sat like a bear with a sore head. What am I doing? What am I
It's
doing
interesting,
today?
actually. Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of
So,
the people I work with is around that exit strategy, building a business
yeah,
that can work without them, so
yeah,
that the owner has the choice. They have control of how and when they
uh,
exit. But one of the
absolutely.
biggest challenges I find is 9 times out of 10, the owner needs the business more than the business needs them. So it's helping them transition
Yeah, yeah.
to
So
life after business and getting out of their own
yeah,
way sometimes.
yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So what I started last year is I'm a mentor at the University of Gloucester Business School.
Oh, very good.
So I help the students there, and actually going back to the point about investing in people, we've actually just started a relationship with Abingdon and Whitney College. So we're taking some students from their business class on placements. So it hasn't quite started yet. We're waiting for September enrolment, but they'll be coming into the business, and the good thing there is investing in young people to take the business to the next level and keep pushing forward, as it were.
And you know
So
what, I think with even with AI around, you know, delivering that personal service and investing in people, AI is going to struggle to do that. We're still human people. We're pack animals, aren't we? We like human to human interaction.
absolutely, and also from a company perspective, you know, AI is just a small part of where we sit. You know, IT infrastructure is always changing. Businesses are changing what they do and how they do it. Very much, if you interrogate a lot of businesses, most, if not all, are absolutely reliant on IT. So you might have a manufacturing business like BMW in Oxford. Well, all of their robots and their machinery, guess what, are connected
Yeah.
to a network. They're not just switched on in the morning by somebody and then, you know, the car park gets brought out and they fix it to the car and they move on. So, you know, those you know, machines, PCs, laptops, businesses, they're getting bandwidth hungry, as we said earlier in the conversation. So for me, it's an exciting time because we're actually coming out of the investment in the investment in wireless is changed in the last 18 months, more so in the last 10 years, because you've gone from technologies such as wireless 6, and within 18 months they released 6E and 7. So again, I went back to that point earlier about flashy lights. Businesses want the latest Wi-Fi so they can push their network to the
And
the
keep up,
standards in their businesses, and
keep
they've
up
got
with
to keep up.
competition.
And as you said earlier, that AP will be circa £600-700 an AP, and if a business has got 150, 200 of them, that's a big investment. It's even a bigger investment if they install it and it doesn't work properly. So for
Yeah, it's a
us,
really, really interesting time, and I think there is a lot of opportunity coming. Listen,
absolutely,
we could probably talk for hours on this in terms of the AI and the changes and stuff
absolutely,
coming. We're going to
absolutely.
need to wrap it up. So, where can our listeners go to find out a bit more about what you guys do, and maybe reach out
Yep.
in touch if they want to know a bit more about how to future-proof their business?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity of allowing me to say that. So the first point of call is our website, so www.thecablingcompany.com. Go to our LinkedIn page where you can follow us and get blogs, regular blogs that get set up, you know, in terms of allowing people to understand what technologies we're doing, the investment in training, etc., etc. Or lastly, just phone our office in Whitney on 0845 1166257, and we'll all be here to help any business of any size as well. That's really important for me to say. That we've got big companies, global companies we deal with, but for me, I get as much enjoyment out of a startup business that's moving office than a global organization that's got 150 offices around Europe that need us to do the work in there. So I just want to make sure that we as a company support businesses of every size when it comes to IT infrastructure.
Perfect. There you go. David, thank you again for taking the time out to talk to us today. It's been
No problem at
really
all.
interesting.
Thanks for the opportunity.